What's up, everybody? It's your favorite artistic bounty hunter's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the second half of the new Black Series Star Wars figures, and we're going to do a little collection sharing today in place of a skit. Also, I have some more Black Series coming tomorrow, some exclusive stuff, so we got a lot to get into and a lot of Star Wars stuff, which is always exciting. So, and I think we got more Star Wars even between you and me. Even more exciting Star Wars stuff next week. Maybe. We'll see how shipping works out. Either way, let's get through these. So the AT-AT driver, I always liked these guys as kids, like as a kid rather. Like they always seemed a little interesting, like it was like a TIE fighter pilot. But you weren't sure if it was like, why is he wearing white? Is it because of the snow, or is it because of the AT-ATs? You know, because Empire. But whatever. Either way, it's cool. Let's talk about the helmet. Beautiful paintwork. Tampo paint for the Imperial symbols. Black paint is pretty sharp. Black paint on the eyes, on the mouthpiece, the red down there, black, silver all over, silver, red, and black on the back. Tons of paint there, and it looks good. It's on a ball hinge. We get up to here, and then down to there, and then you can move the ball hinge, you get a little bit more. And then the swivel, these pieces are glued into the back of the helmet, and they come down. They're soft pieces of plastic and plug into his chest. Don't impinge articulation at all. Really, really well done. Speaking of the chest, we have a diaphragm joint. It's underneath the armor. It's a ball joint. It works really well, and it's completely hidden with a great range, so no issues there. For the chest, look at all that paint on that chest. It's like a Christmas tree, and it's all really sharp. It looks great. Back, just as well. Not as sharp, but just as much stuff going on, and it looks overall good, and you're never going to see that, and it's still there. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call pride. Moving on to the shoulders, we have disc hinges. They are fairly limited, proper. And what I mean by that is you can get them out to 90 degrees, so that's fine, but it makes the shoulder piece look ridiculous. Without making the shoulder piece look ridiculous, you're pretty much just getting about 45 degrees. So that's not the best, but you know, it'll do. And then we have the swivel that gets us 360. No bicep swivel, as we have come to expect, with a swivel at the elbow joint that gets us 90 degrees, or actually just a little shy thereof. Little gray paint spill over there, and individual results will vary. Nice, so it's a different shade of silver paint on the glove. Looks good. Wrist swivels and hinges in and out. The problem with this is that it's just like a trigger finger hand, and he only comes with one gun, and I hate that. Just give me some posing hands. It'll look better. It'll look better on my shelf. Maybe they don't want to discriminate against lefties, but you know what? Do one wave lefty, the next wave righty. You know, or do the TIE Fighters lefty and then the AT-AT drivers righty. I won't get offended with having a left-handed trigger finger hand if the right hand is posing. And I'm right-handed, so there you go. Alright, other arm looks good for the gun. Single cast, we have the same silver single accent there. Could have done with some dry brushing and stuff, but it's okay. We've seen this gun before too, which they use it 1,000 times, which theoretically they should. So soft piece of plastic here for the straps. They come up underneath, so it's hidden, and on the back it's hidden as well. It comes down and splits off into another piece, which is glued on top that wraps around the legs. Doesn't impinge articulation at all. And speaking of which, they're T-jointed ball joints, which get you out to there. Front-wise to there, back not so much, but that's okay. And then thigh swivel. All the pockets and stuff are all sculpted well, the pants, the wrinkles, all that stuff, all up to par, as is the design and seam work in the upper abdomen. Okay, double jointed knee, get you back to there, so that's good. And then we have the boots, which are big and clunky, but they're supposed to be. You get up to there for an ankle tilt, down to there for an ankle tilt, and an ankle rocker is built in. A little bit of paint spill over there too, so they should be a little bit more careful with stuff like that, but otherwise pretty good figure. And then next up we have Sabine, and she's a pretty popular character on Rebels. She has a lot of girl power behind her. Like, you know, if you thought the Where's Rey folks were obnoxious, because I got news for you. Rey had more figures than everybody else. You just didn't stop to think about it. You were mad because she was popular and she sold out, but that's a separate discussion. We can have that privately. Let's get into her. She's a very cool character, and she's cool on the show, and I'm not crazy about the show, but I do enjoy her character. There are a couple issues here. It mainly has to do, well, we'll just get into it. One thing as a tip, if you want her holding her helmet, it's very easy to do. Just sit the helmet on top of the gun that's in the holster. It'll sit proper enough, or if you just sit the arm down next to the side, it'll stay on there. No fuss, no muss. Pretty cool. But let's talk about the head, because then we're going to put the helmet on her, because the eye paint is crazy. She looks like she's possessed by a scary demon. The eyes aren't painted equally. It's like the pupil is larger on one than it is on the other, and it's like slightly off-center more so than it is on the other. The hair paint, though, is tremendous. The purple doesn't quite match the sculpt work in the hair wisps, but it doesn't bother you when you just sit there and look at it. And I think overall it's pretty well done. The lips are done extremely well, and the sculpt of the face is pretty cool. I like that they're doing these rebel characters, but they're doing them in a more realistic look. As for the helmet, you do get the targeting thing, or somebody's told me recently it's not a targeting thing, it scans for bounties. Either way, you get it, and it goes here and there, and the paint on the helmet looks great. It's sharp as a tack. You have the orange, the black, the darker purple, the lighter purple, and the gray, and it all looks really good. Little Tampo paint there on the back. So let's slide that on. It is a tight fit, and it does bubble out a little bit on the sides, which is not the best, but it's not the worst either. Makes her head look a little fat. And you can see how it bows out on the sides. That's just, you know, it's unfortunate. Like if these were just pushed in a little bit more, you know, but whatever. It still works. Ball hinge for the head to the neck, even with the helmet on. Great range and all the way up, so to speak. Shout out to Fat Joe and Remy Martin. Moving down the figure, we have the purple here, and then it has like the wear on the armor, and then we have the armor for the chest, and it has the Tampo paint for the rebel symbol, as well as these stripes and all this stuff looks good, and then wear paint around the edges and the seams of the armor all looks really good. Single ball joint at the abdomen, and even with the chest plate on there, it looks good, and you get a great range of motion. You also have this 2 shades of gray, and they're clean for the most part. We got a little outside the lines there. So that works well. For the shoulders, you have ball hinges get you up to there. This moves much more naturally around the shoulder than the AT-AT driver does, and it looks good. And the paint on there is tremendous with the symbol and with the dry brush wear that's around the sides, and it looks like a wash was applied afterwards. It looks really good. No bicep swivel, but we do have a swivel at the elbow that gets you 90 degrees, and then that sort of thing. We did have to paint the skin tone around the gray, and it's the same thing where we had to paint skin tone around this neck piece here. It's just like you see how it's chipping right there, and it just looks strange. That's just some stuff that's going to happen when you buy a $20 figure that has as much paint as this young lady does. Okay, so we have purple here added on, and then the wrist or the base plastic, and then the skin tone is painted on. And then you had this little speckle paint, because she is like an artist in the show, and that's really, really well done. You know, I don't know if they blew the paint on or they flicked the brush to get that effect, but it looks really good. Kudos to them for that. Articulation, same for the other side, except for the wrist. This gets an up and down on this side, and this gets an in and out. Accessory-wise, she does come with this thing. I'm a little behind in Rebels, and I'm not that big of a fan of the show to really remember. I don't know what this is. This might be her paint thing. Either way, it's a single cast, and no sort of details really added on to it other than the sculpt. She does get her 2 firearms. They sit in the holsters just fine. They're also a gray plastic, but they've been dry brushed with this silver. It looks fine. It doesn't look worn like dry brushing should make it look, because it's a brighter color over like I don't know, it's like 2 different colors, like it's a silver and a gray. So it's just, it doesn't look as good, but she does hold them, and she has 2 trigger finger hands, and that actually makes sense this go round, so I dig that. For the holster, it's a softer piece of plastic that's glued onto the waist of the figure, and then the waist of the figure comes down to T-jointed ball joints that are extremely limited to get you... Oh, no, they're not. They're just tight. So, yeah, that's good. Get you out to there, and I think that's fair. Forward and back to there. Continuing this ridiculous amount of paint that we have 2 tones of brown on the pelvis, on the thighs, and on the hips, coming down to gray at the bottom of the thighs. And all the paint is done really fairly clean. Like down up in there it got a little crazy, but for the most part it's fairly clean. For the knee pads, once again, tons of paint. We got the purple, we got dry brush silver, we have this color, and then a dry brush purple over top, and we have silver wear around the edges. Just nuts. And then a double jointed knee that gets you the full range. Coming down to the boot that once again has the speckle paint with a different color. We have a lighter blue mixed in, where we just had orange and yellow up here, I think, and white. So a different color added in. That looks cool. The purple paint also. For the feet, we have an ankle tilt up, an ankle tilt down, and a rocker. So a really phenomenal figure with a couple paint flaws amongst a just bucket ton of paint. And you know the word I want to use. So I think that the good here is worth the bad. Do you know what I mean? Tremendous. And then lastly, my daughter's namesake, my youngest daughter's namesake, Princess Leia Organa. Lot of controversy surrounding this figure. Initially, the fans had a meltdown over the face sculpt, so they redid it. I think it's better. Some angles look better than others, but overall, you know, it's not 100%. This has a lot of soft goods. Unfortunately, this is the weaker of the batch. But let's talk about these accessories because I want to get this out of her hand. It's a typical rifle that we've seen with two of the figures just in this wave. She holds it in a hand that's not intended for guns fairly well. And then she comes with her more signature pistol in the trigger finger hand. This hand hinges up and down, and this hand hinges in and out. So all in all, it's okay. And I like this gun. Single black cast, no extra details added, but still looks appropriate. So let's talk about her. So this hood is one of the big problems. Once again, we have the Obi-Wan situation where it doesn't sit naturally and it's hard to get it to hang right, and it's even when she's not using it, it's hard to get it to not look obnoxious. It just wants to float up like that red balloon 80s classic. And then to get it over her head, it looks even worse. I mean, that looks very inappropriate if you ask me. And then if to get it back, it doesn't look much better, to be honest. She ends up looking like a Ku Klux Klan member most of the time. So I sympathize. Hoods are hard to do, but you know, if we could, I don't know, if you could maybe sew them if you're nice with the needle to the bottom of her shoulders, that would help. But then you'd have to pretty much keep it on or just take it off to there. So, you know, the thought is there, it just doesn't work. Alright, she has blush on her cheeks. The paint here on the eyes is fairly well done. It's not a paint issue here, it's a sculpt issue. And it might be a lack of paint. Like if you add more paint, you might be able to bring out some more of those details. But I think for an average Hasbro paint job, I think it does okay. And some angles look good, and then some angles not so much. But hair is all sculpted well, the signature buns and so forth. You know, it would have been nice to have a wash on there, but maybe we're getting greedy. And the lips are painted well. I think maybe that she looks like an angry face. You know, it's not that she was a bucket full of joy in A New Hope, but I don't know. I can't pinpoint exactly what's off here, but there's something off. But I'm not sure if it's bad enough to say it's not good. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Alright, so she also has a torso ball joint. It's hidden by this soft goods, which is basically the whole figure. I'm not sure how I feel about this much soft goods on a 1/12 scale figure. I think something is lost here. I think I would have been okay if the bottom bit was soft goods and this was all sculpted at the top. I think that's what I would have preferred. It's just something is lost. The belt is sculpted and painted silver and it's painted fairly clean. The range on that ball joint in the torso is great, and it should be because they don't have to worry about how it looks underneath, really. Speaking of how it looks underneath, I'm going to just point this out. We got to talk about articulation anyway, so it's worth doing. Number one, this would probably be a good base figure to buy for customs, for other figures if you were interested. Number two, I never really imagined her in a like a leotard underneath all that. Not sure what I imagined, but I don't think it was this. Either way, T-jointed ball joints for hips that get you out to there, forward to there, and back to there. I guess we'll take a look at the back. Little skimpy side. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knee. A little tight, but it should get you a better range than what I'm able to kind of illustrate here. Yeah, there. And then the boots are all sculpted well. The wrinkles in the boots look great, so no complaints there. Ankle tilts go down to there and up to there, so that's fantastic. And then the swivel is built in and we have paint on the bottom, so that works well. Let's give her a little bit of humility or modesty now. Okay, disc hinge shoulders, getting you a crazy range. Once again, it's bare underneath here. I wonder, you know, just because it's Hasbro and it's a Disney license, like I wonder what this is like underneath. Okay, so it is like a leotard. And then we have, look at that double jointed elbow. Isn't that strange? I wonder why they didn't do the single hinge with the swivel like they do on most everything. I mean, I welcome it, but so peculiar. Wrist swivel and hinge in and out, as we've already talked about, and this hinges up and down. And the rest of it we've already kind of covered. So, yeah, look, she's getting a lot of flack, and I understand where it's coming from. But in hand, in person, I like her better than Pajama Jimmy Jam Luke. But I don't think that this. I think that there are a series of bad decisions made in the approach to this figure. But once those decisions were made, I think they did a fairly decent job under those bad decisions that were the original pretense. Does that make sense? So this is my original trilogy hero shelf. I don't know what I'm doing over here yet, but that feels pretty good. Like, that feels like completing your arc bots from Transformers. Like, that has a good feel to it. My sequel trilogy heroes still got some gaps in there. I mean, it's pretty full, but like, I need a Maz. I need a Yoda up here as well, but I don't know. Something seems more incomplete here. Maybe because we're only operating off one movie. Sequel trilogy villain shelf. Nothing really new. I got to start putting these stormtroopers in ranks because they're starting to get a little willy-nilly. And then original trilogy Empire. I don't know what I'm going to do with these Rogue One troopers because I'm accumulating so many. Starting to get a little sloppy. I can't have that. Prequel trilogy heroes for the most part, am I right? And then prequel trilogy villains, and I just put him in here because where else is he going to go? And then we have like this weird in-between prequel and original trilogy shelf with Rogue One and Rebels. I kind of want another Ahsoka to put down here, but I think I'll just wait it out. And then down at the bottom here we just have like general aliens, miscellaneous aliens, including this guy. He's hard to get, isn't he? Nah. Thousands of them at each store you go to. Oh, and look, I haven't taken this out of Jabba's mouth yet. So, final thoughts-wise, I think you can do a lot worse than these. I think Sabine is great, and I think that she was another important one to kind of get right, just because of the amount of fanfare that she has at the moment, and I think they knocked her out of the park. Yeah, the eyes could be better, and yeah, individual results are going to vary on that one. I didn't get a great one, but you know what? I got a great helmet to go over top of it to hide that fact, so overall, she works out perfectly for me. The AT driver is kind of fine. He does his job. He's everything that you would expect, but he's there's nothing really special either to write home about, except for the paint which is on him, which is tremendous. It's sharp as a tack on the helmet and on the chest. It's beautiful. As for Leia, I don't know if I can separate myself from this one. I might be biased, but I don't hate this. Like, I hated Pajama Jammy Jam Luke to an extent. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just looked absurd. I don't hate this as much. It's not the way I wish they would have done it. It's not the end I'd wished for, lad, but I don't hate it. I think that within the confines of what it tried to do, it did as well as it could have. The head sculpt is not the best, but you know what? It's not the worst. I've seen worse. I've seen worse from this company 10 times over. So yeah, it's a pretty great wave. I'm glad to see Star Wars Black Series getting back to all of this intricate stuff, all of these pieces that don't get in the way of articulation that look like they should, and intricate paint schemes that we've never seen applied to figures in a line like this from Hasbro. Articulation, we even see a double jointed elbow, which is nice to get back to. Accessories out the wazoo, and they're all appropriate. We got dry brushing, we got washing, we got this speckly paint, which we've never really seen before on a Black Series figure. We got Tampo paint. What more do you really want in a $20 figure? I strongly recommend this entire wave. I think that this is, for the most part, a return to the Black Series glory days. And I hope that the next batch is as up to par, especially that Jaina Solo figure, which I cannot wait to get my hands on next year. So yeah, glad to hear it, glad to see it, glad that Hasbro is paying attention to the fans, at least it seems anyway. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, till next time, take care.